Hey Quinns, how's it go? Oh my god, what happened? Did the board game die?
Not this time, Tom. Tom, let me ask you a question now. Do you know what you are?
Confused.
Okay, in addition to that, you are one of the more than 1 million people who watched my review of Crokinole. That review was a sensation. Do you know what it's like to have 1 million views?
Technically, kinda. I mean, cumulatively, sure. I've got one that's
People come up to you on the street, Tom, cool people, and they say, "Sir, excuse me, aren't you the one who caused a global resurgence of a 150-year-old historic Canadian dexterity game? Teach me how to be funny and deeply relevant like you were and still are." Well, behold! Today we're going back to that old wooden watering hole. We've got a review of 3 more wooden dexterity games sent to us by manufacturer Woodestic games. Stay tuned to hear me describing this game as having divorced dad energy. And take a look, Woodestic gave all of these games a little engraving of the Shut Up and Sit Down logo, which is going to make it marginally harder for me to be mean to them. Well, mean about some of them. Mean about most of them. I'm going to be mean about all of them, but that's not to say they're not good. Although mostly they're not good. One of them is good. But which one?
Is everything okay at home? You doing all right?
I'm fine. Right now, the worst thing about my home is that you're in it. Now, I suggest that we start with the least remarkable of these games and then build our way up.
Wait, hold on. I'm not here to do a review. You messaged me this morning being like, I need soy milk, I'll pay you back. And that's the only reason that I'm here.
That is half true. Mm-hmm. I do need soy milk.
No.
You're here now.
I know.
Give me the...
No, it's fine.
Like the marketing department of an antiperspirant, PitRush is a game about rushing for pits.
Oh, exciting.
Actually, sometimes it's also a game about trying to avoid pits.
Oh, okay.
Here's the deal. PitRush asks the reasonable, if somewhat accusatory question, if you're going to spend $200 on a big wooden thing, why buy a big wooden thing that only lets you play one great game? And so, this edition of PitRush is a $200 wooden thing that offers 1 acceptable game and 3 bad ones. Whoa!
Quinns, I think my wallet just leapt out my pocket.
We got it that excited?
I think it was trying to kill itself.
What was that? How do you play?
No.
In the default game of PitRush, players just go crazy. They're flicking their discs in real time to try and get discs into pits. It's a classic game of discs in pits, and quasi-enjoyable in the way that TikTok is. Stuff's just constantly moving in front of you, so it's sort of hard to complain. Or you can play in contest mode, where instead you take turns and get extra points for making shapes. Then there's 4 in a row mode, which is similar but harder and worse. Sort of like playing a version of Connect 4 if Connect 4 hated to be played. And finally, there's what we found to be the best game mode, Stay Alive PitRush.
Yeah, this was definitely the best.
Yeah, I can only imagine that this isn't the default because it sort of requires teams, either 1v1 or 2v2. But you can totally play this as 2v1 or 3v2. Get a grip, PitRush.
Yeah, get a grip.
In Stay Alive mode, each player or team puts 3 discs in 3 pits at the start of the game, and the objective is to be the last team with discs left to shoot. Just think of your discs as lives. If one of your discs in a pit is covered by an enemy disc, you lose 1 disc a turn until you knock it off. But if your disc falls into a pit while you're taking a shot, you also lose that disc permanently. Stay Alive PitRush is good.
Yeah, if I went to a friend's house and they had it set up, I would never say no to a game.
But... Let's do that faster.
Yeah.
But
oh, hold on, I was looking. Sorry. But the game's not amazing, and the board's just not very nice. When you play Crokinole or Carrom on a nice board, the action of just flicking a disc is spellbinding. Interacting with that board, even being beside its silky gleaminess, is a pleasure. This board, it's not a pleasure. Compared to Crokinole, PitRush feels like climbing into your friend's affordable used car that has an empty coffee cup in the passenger footwell.
Yes, you can accept the life decisions that led you to the point that you're playing PitRush.
But you're not happy about them.
No. PitRush feels like a game of just flicking a disc into a hole. Crokinole is like, holy shit, I never knew flicking a disc into a hole could be like this.
What game is next on the list?
I want to save the best for last, so next up is Sling. The first time I saw Sling, or Sling Puck, was at Board Game Geek Con. And the moment I saw this game being played, I felt like I was looking at something my friend had spent 14 months constructing in his garden shed following a difficult divorce. Let me just show you what it's like to play. For those of you thinking to yourself, what am I missing? You're not. The game is to get all the discs through the hole. That's it. And uniquely for a board game, Sling Puck actively penalizes its players for being evenly matched, locking you in a Sisyphean struggle for speed when haste will only mean your shots bash impotently against the sides of the hole. In the protracted battle that follows, the game can and in fact does become increasingly sickening, as rewarding muscle memory steadily gives way to overthinking the process of launching these discs, and queasy overthinking in turn gives way to cracks in one's mental fortitude, as a question bubbles up from your subconscious like a grisly dinosaur skull from a tar pit, as you ask yourself whether winning is really worth all of this discomfort, and this question then gives way to whether you enjoy games or play at all. And yet, mea culpa, there is something moreish about Sling Puck. It's like Pringles. I don't fully enjoy eating Pringles, and I definitely don't enjoy having eaten Pringles. But if my friend has never eaten Pringles and we're passing a bowl of Pringles, which is to say if we're passing Sling Puck at a convention and they haven't played it, I will say, you gotta try it. I will enjoy watching you try it. I will enjoy watching you eat a Pringle, and so help me God, I might have one too. But, you know, if you just want to do a repetitive throwing action over and over again, I'd just say, buy a dartboard.
Are we done talking about Pringles now?
Yes, we've moved on. Keep up.
Okay. I just thought you were building to some sort of final Pringles bit there. That's all.
No. Tom, who is this game for?
You got me thinking about Pringles.
Think about your family instead.
I'm just thinking about Pringles.
You love your family more than you love Pringles.
I love Pringles.
Would your family...
I'd love a tube of Pringles right now.
Shut up!
My favourite ones are the barbecue Pringles.
That's not even the correct Pringle.
No, it's definitely the correct. The barbecue ones.
Salt and vinegar is the correct.
What the f*** are you talking about?
Would your family like this game?
No.
Really?
No, I don't think so. They're smart.
The shade! Let's move on to the main event.
Oh, we're still rolling?
This is the good boy. This is Carrom. And I know. Like Crokinole, this game is expensive and lush and has a heritage. Where Crokinole was invented by some unknown Canadian who must have been an absolute legend, Carrom was invented by, again, some unknown Indian person who was presumably also quite cool. We seriously don't know when this was invented, although it has spread quite far. In fact, if you go to the Wikipedia page, I'm gonna cut to VO, don't make a noise. It shows some Tibetans playing it, which I think is cool. You will not look cool playing Carrom though, at least not for a while. And that's because the big difference between Carrom and Crokinole is that Carrom, despite what you may just see there, that's pretty good. Carrom is really hard.
It's so difficult. It's a really difficult game.
Listen, I've seen people sit down at a Crokinole board really nervous about this public performance they're about to do, but the moment they take their first shot, they're hooked, they're confident, they're happy. Carrom has way more in common with playing pool. You remember the first time you played pool? You simply couldn't. You were a disgrace. It was literally laughable. Carrom's like that. It's not the yielding tactile joy of Crokinole. It is trying to sink a flinging disc again and again and again and again, and oh my God. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. The rules. How do you play? The rules are basically pool. You break, you use the disc equivalent of a cue ball to try and sink discs of your color into the pockets, and if you do that, you get to take another turn again and again. But the key difference is that in pool, you have to sink the 8 ball last, whereas in Carrom, this red queen here is worth pots of extra points, and you can sink her anytime you like. But you have to sink a disc of your own color immediately after sinking the queen, or the pocket regurgitates her back up and you score 0 points. But you cannot sink the last piece of your color ending the game unless somebody has sunk the queen. And so, where Carrom starts off tolerably difficult with players just trying and frequently failing to sink discs where shots are available all over the board, eventually the game will reach a monstrous bite point where one player has to sink 2 of a dwindling array of their discs in a row, the queen and then one of their own color, or they lose. Now, you can obviously house rule that away if you want, or if you're learning. It's not like the Carrom cops are gonna find you. And like I say, this game is absolutely the best of the bunch. I've contentedly whiled away an hour and a half with this board and been on the fence as to whether to keep playing. The very next day, called up that same friend, said, come over, let's play another hour of Carrom. This is good.
Also, I've been sinking these shots like a mother, by the way.
Yeah.
I said what? I think 2 in
Yeah,
there.
you're,
one in there.
YouTube, I can't help but notice they're different colours. So, the game's easy if you're not... if you're not actually... Yeah, I don't know what game you've been playing, but you've been doing really well. The smooth action of disc strikes on gleaming wood is a joy just as it is in Crokinole. And it is profoundly rewarding to feel yourself steadily getting better, or even start playing tactically to disrupt easy shots your opponent might have, or deciding when to take the risk of going for the queen because you think you can get away with it. But where this game is a fine present for the Crokinole player in your life that has everything, there's simply no universe that I would recommend anybody buy Carrom instead of Crokinole, right?
No way. This is just, it's just not as good.
It's not as good. It's not as funny.
It's not as funny.
It's not as accessible.
It's not as round.
It's not. It's not. You can't sling discs around the side for no reason
part
at
of
all.
the game.
It is actually really good. I'll tell you what else. The striker disc you use in Carrom to make sure that the discs have enough strength. This thing is traditionally made of a heavier material, but this is just less of a pleasure to flick than a wooden piece.
Quinns, let me speak up on behalf of our audience here and say this video is simply a disaster. You got these new wooden games because you were hoping to find something that was better than or equal to Crokinole, and then you've just told people to just buy Crokinole instead, and none of these games are as good as it.
Okay.
What gives?
Listen, here's the surprise twist ending. I have not recommended any of the games in this video, and Woodestic, the company who very kindly sent us these games, are almost certainly having an aneurysm right now. However, this is actually the best possible ending.
Explain.
Here's why. Because it means that if you want to buy a wooden flicking game after Crokinole or instead of Crokinole, the best wooden flicking games out there aren't in this video and are cheaper than any of the games you've seen. Let's cue the bad photos and talk about 2 wooden flicking games that I absolutely recommend that you might be able to find because stock availability is acceptable, not good. So maybe check eBay.
This is a rubbish
Shut
twist ending.
up! Pitch Car is a classic. A racing dexterity game with a modular racetrack with rules you could fit on the back of a postcard. This game first sees players assembling a giant racetrack which runs around the room, and this is exactly as fun as the game itself, and then taking turns flicking a little car around the course. There are tons of expansions for Pitch Car, but the game is equally good if you just get creative by incorporating anything from your house onto the track as an obstacle or a ramp. The only downside to Pitch Car is that it's massive, but fortunately, there's a smaller version available called Pitch Car Mini. And then, equally stupid and equally beloved is Tumblin' Dice. Like Sling, this is a game I always see at conventions, but unlike our divorced dad who needs to go to therapy, Tumblin' Dice is like a well-adjusted dad who's chill and maybe also needs some therapy, but you don't mind his bawdy jokes and day drinking because he's nonetheless good company. Tumblin' Dice sees players taking turns to flick their dice down these stairs, and each die then scores the number of pips on the die multiplied by the stair it's on. But only if the die is still there when everyone's finished rolling their dice, so it's also a game of cruelly bashing everyone's dice off those stairs.
Also, not a wooden flicking game, but a flicking game that I really like, and I'm really sad I got rid of from my collection. I was like, I don't need this anymore. I've got like Kabuto Sumo or something, which isn't even a flicking game. Flick 'em up. That game's great. That game's really good, really fun.
It does have a wooden edition as well.
Oh yeah, okay. Anyway, are we done here? This is taking bloody ages. I was only meant to be here for a little bit, and now we've been sat for
Why are you in such a hurry?
I've got plans. I've got big plans.
I had big plans. Filming this with a friend that I like to call... It's Tom Brewster. My friend.
Yeah, I've got to go.
And you're... Okay.
Bye. 1920.